In the dark, twisted reality of the cursed tape, Megan and Ryan found themselves constantly running from the entity that hunted them. Their breath was shallow, nerves frayed, and they huddled in a hidden corner, trying to stay quiet and unseen. Every moment felt like an eternity as the tension in the air pressed down on them. The entity was always lurking, an evil force they could never fully escape. But fate had different plans for them today. As they crept through the distorted hallways of this warped world, they stumbled upon a hidden room they hadn't noticed before. Megan pushed it open cautiously, leading them inside. The room felt strangely different from the others, darker, colder, and filled with an unsettling energy. In the center of the room was an old, dusty shelf lined with VHS tapes. Each tape was labeled with a name, carefully written as if marking the identities of those who had come before them. Megan's eyes scanned the shelf, her face grim with the realization of what this room represented. They selected one at random and inserted it into a nearby VHS player. As the tape began to play, flickering images filled the screen. It showed a man, frightened and confused, trapped in a place just like they were now. Like them, the man had been trapped. As they sifted through more tapes, a disturbing pattern emerged that caught Megan's attention. Each tape had a recurring image, an old, dilapidated house, its decaying structure appearing repeatedly. The house was more than just a backdrop. It was central to the curse. Megan began to theorize that the house held the key to understanding what was happening to them. It seemed to be tied to the origins of the cursed tape, possibly even the source of its power. But before they could discuss it further, a low, rumbling growl echoed through the air. The entity was near. Without a word, Megan and Ryan darted behind a table, crouching low to the ground, their hearts pounding in their chests. They could hear the growl growing louder, the malevolent presence. But fortunately, the sound faded. But they knew they couldn't stay there forever. Ryan's voice trembled as he whispered his fears. They couldn't just sit and wait for the entity to find them. They had to act. Megan, her resolve hardening, agreed. Their only chance of survival was to find the house. It was their only lead, the only clue they had to unravel the mystery of the curse. They set off into the twisted landscape, following the visions and clues from the tapes. The world around them became increasingly distorted the closer they got to the house. Buildings warped and bent in impossible directions. The very air felt heavy, charged with an oppressive energy. Finally, they found it. The house. It stood at the heart of the madness, a towering, decayed mansion that loomed over them like a specter. This was the place from the tapes, the house that seemed to be at the center of the curse. As they approached, a cold wind howled around them, and the door creaked open slowly, as if inviting them in. Inside, the floorboards groaned under their feet, and faint whispers echoed from the walls. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and a sense of dread hung heavy in the atmosphere. They entered a room deep within the house, its walls covered in strange, occult symbols. The symbols had been carved into the wood and floor, meaning dark and sinister. The symbols were part of a ritual used to create the cursed tape. The house wasn't just connected to the curse, it was its origin. Before they could process the revelation, a loud crash echoed from upstairs. The entity was close. They fled the room, their footsteps pounding against the creaking floorboards as they ran. They made their way into the basement, which strangely resembled a study. It was cluttered with old books and dusty artifacts, but one object stood out, A diary lying on the table. Megan's eyes lit up with hope. This could be it. Ryan picked up the diary and began to read. It was the journal of Walter Creel, the man who had created the cursed tape. But Ryan did not know the danger that revelation would bring them both.